The Russians will try to carry out some offensive operations. This was stated on air by the Ukrainian reserve major and veteran of the Russian-Ukrainian war, Alexei Getman. As the expert noted, the number of Russian occupation army on the front line has not changed. On the contrary, the number of personnel of the Russian Federation is gradually decreasing because their ability to attract new servicemen through mobilization and recruitment is less than what the Ukrainian Armed Forces destroy monthly. Even the average daily number of losses of Russians has already appeared, 1,250 occupiers, noted Getman. He stressed that the Russians not only cannot increase the number of personnel, but also have problems with the means that destroy the Ukrainian Defense Forces on a daily basis. Every month, the Russians lose up to 40,000 personnel. They can gain approximately the same number every month. In fact, this can be considered a negative balance. Therefore, the question arises: if the Russians cannot increase the number of personnel, then how can they conduct large-scale offensive operations? The same applies to equipment, which is also being destroyed on a large scale on the front line, he added. Earlier, another military expert, Ivan Stupak, stated that the Russian army does not have sufficient potential for a large-scale attack on all sections of the front line at once. According to the expert, an analysis of open sources shows that there is no significant accumulation of reserves along the entire 1,000-kilometer front line. To say that they have great opportunities along the entire front line with new forces and they can put pressure, I would not say that. These forces are not visible, Stupak emphasized. In addition, there are indications of a reduction in personnel in the Russian army. In particular, the military police, which previously performed secondary tasks at rear checkpoints, have begun to be transferred to the front lines. Although Russia stepped up the recruitment of contract soldiers in April, according to some sources, Moscow is able to recruit about 100 to 150 people every day. However, this is not enough to have a significant impact on the situation. They don't have enough people. They throw everyone to the front, the wounded, the lame, and the barefoot, the expert noted. The absence of a mass accumulation of equipment is also recorded. Mechanized assaults are rare, since the Russians take care of armored vehicles and use them only when there is a high probability of breaking through the Ukrainian defense.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday participated in a ceremony to present workers of Ukraine's defense industrial complex with state awards. "We will always need our own strength, our own powerful weapons, so that we can have our own strong Ukrainian state," he said. "Ukraine will always need its own technological superiority so that Russia knows that we will respond to their every attack," Zelensky added. According to Associated Press on his social media page, Zelensky also thanked workers for their service to the country, adding that over 40% of all weapons used on the front for defense of Ukraine are made domestically.
Президент України Володимир Зеленський.
Слава Україні! Що оборонно-промисловий комплекс виробляє більше країн і більше з українськими виробниками зброї. Я хочу вам подякувати за це. Дякую всім вашим колегам, кожній, хто допомагає Україні. Завжди потрібна буде своя сила, своя сильна зброя, щоб була у нас своя сильна українська держава. Україні завжди потрібна буде власна технологічна перевага, щоб в Росії знали, ми відповімо на кожен їх удар. Українців. Це все багато в чому віддаєте спочатку цієї. Дякую вам за кожен день, який ви прожили. Дякуємо вам.
Розпочинаємо церемонію вручення державних нагород України.
Russian forces are once again attempting to land on the islands and establish footholds for further advances, according to Serhiy Bratchuk, spokesman for the Ukrainian Volunteer Army. In terms of combat developments, there have been no significant changes. Russian forces remain active, said Serhiy Bratchuk, spokesman for the Ukrainian Volunteer Army. The only thing is, they have slightly increased their firepower both in the Zaporizhia and Pridniprovsky, i.e. Kherson, directions. The continuing terror against civilians remains a characteristic and common feature for both directions, noted Bratchuk on Espresso TV. According to a spokesperson, the Russian troops are acting mainly at the tactical level in the Zaporizhia direction. This is the area of responsibility of the 58th Combined Arms Army of the Russian occupiers. Russian paratroopers and motorized infantry units are fighting here. They are trying to regroup, in particular in the Kharkiv direction. The Huliaipol direction is currently somewhat more active. Assault groups are being pulled up there to advance in certain areas. We are talking about the settlement of Mali Shabaki, Stevpov, Lobkov, where the Ukrainian forces managed to stop the enemy. However, the Russians are gradually involving a mechanized component. This has already become a characteristic feature along the entire front line, emphasized Bratchuk. Bratchuk also noted an escalation in the Dnipro direction, emphasizing that while large-scale mechanized assaults have subsided, Russian forces have shifted to intensified assault operations on the islands. According to him, the invading Russian forces are once again attempting to land and establish bridgeheads for a potential advance toward the right bank. It is obvious that this is the task they are facing. Apparently, the occupiers have received orders to speed up its implementation as the intensity of hostilities in this area has increased. The Russians are actively using watercraft, which are being destroyed by the Ukrainian Defense Forces. The occupiers are also trying to land directly on the right bank. Such activity was recorded last week, in particular in the area of Sadov. Traditionally, they try to attack on the islands but have huge problems. The problem isn't just who's in the Kremlin, but also the lack of evacuation. Many dead are left on the islands, along with the wounded, who often end up dead too. This keeps the morale of the occupying forces low, yet they're forced to keep attacking, because they're Russians, still willing to be cannon fodder, Bratchuk concluded.